Hey everybody, this is Mr. Maupin coming at you one more time. This is part 3 of the AP Gov video focusing in on topic 2.11, taking a look at the checks on the judiciary branch. So far we have looked at the confirmation process, but what I want to do in this short video is take a look at some of the things that are going to be critical for a president in terms of, what kind of justice they want to select for the Supreme Court. Now, some of these things are pretty obvious, pretty logical. Others may not have considered. For example, especially with modern presidents, modern picks, the president certainly wants somebody that is of their same political lean. So, in other words, liberal Democrat presidents are going to be picking liberal justices. Conservative Republican presidents are going to be picking conservative justices. So, the same ideology, same party affiliation does play a role. And in fact, it's played a much bigger role in the last 50 years than it did before. The picks by Democrats have become more liberal. The picks by Republicans have become more conservative. So that has played an important role. Personal loyalty is can be a part of the criteria. The idea of, does the president already have some sort of a working relationship with this person? Do they feel that this is a person that will, maintain their views on the court for many years into the future? That can play a role. Also note that judicial experience, once again, not a, probably not a big surprise. Judicial experience also is helpful. It's not required. There's no requirements for that to be a Supreme Court justice, but the vast majority of Supreme Court justices have lower federal court judicial experience, especially from the DC Circuit Court for sure. Also, race and gender can be a role. We've seen that especially for more liberal Democrat presidents, factoring in race and gender. So, trying to make the court more representative of the nation as a whole. It's moving that direction. Hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it is moving in that direction for sure. And then, of course, there is the quote-unquote litmus test on various hot-button issues. There might be some major issue at the time, and probably historically the biggest issue of the last 50 years when, considering Supreme Court justice picks, is the abortion issue. We see commonly that folks on the Senate Judiciary Committee are going to try their best to try to, pull out of these picks, how are you going to vote on an abortion case? How are you going to rule on that? What's your what's your sense of, is abortion a protected right, or should it be a protected right, or should it not be they try to really kind of pull this out of the picks. They don't really are ever really successful in doing that, but they want to try to get a sense of how will this pick rule on this very important political issue. And then lastly, there's just an overall sense of, will this pick get through the Senate for whatever reason? It might be something political, might not. It's just, at the end of the day, it's the Senate's choice who gets confirmed. And so you better have somebody that the Senate is going to like, or at least respect anyway. And we got a couple of examples of where that was not the case. Starting with Harriet Myers back in 2005. Here's Harriet Myers right here, picture to the left of President George W. Bush when she was appointed to fill a Supreme Court vacancy. Now, in the case of Ms. Myers, she certainly fit, some of the things that were on President Bush's pick. She was a conservative. She was a Republican. It helped to be a woman in terms of, providing more diversity to the courts. And they also had a very good, close personal relationship. In fact, it was closer than what you would normally see for a president and a pick. You see, Harriet Myers had worked for George W. Bush for a number of years in various capacities as a personal attorney, but also as a key advisor for the president back when he was the governor of Texas, and as a West Wing advisor in the 4 years up to that point that George W. Bush had been president. So this was somebody that George Bush knew personally and professionally in a pretty close way for for a long, long time. So he was very confident this was somebody that had this, that he knew her beliefs. He knew how she would interpret the Constitution, how she would rule on certain hot button issues. So he was very confident in that pick when he made it in 2005. However, this is going to prove to be a big mistake for President Bush. The reason being is that when she starts to fill out the questionnaires that the Senate Judiciary Committee puts out to these appointments prior to the Senate hearings that they have, she showed a woeful lack of constitutional law. In fact, she'd never practiced constitutional law before. And in fact, she'd never been a judge at any level in her history. Her main experience in government was serving as an advisor to President Bush. Both Republicans and Democrats, and note, Republicans included on the Senate Judiciary Committee, were pretty surprised at the lack of experience and lack of understanding of the constitutional issues she would have to be facing if approved for the court. It was so bad that members of that committee, behind closed doors, met with President Bush and said, "Listen, this is not going to work out very well. This is not very good." And as the media starts to pick up on the queasiness that the Senate Judiciary Committee had with regards to Myers possibly being added to the Supreme Court, it led to more of a public backlash against the pick, to the point where even before formal Senate Judiciary Committee hearings could actually be held, Myers will resign her pick, and Bush will go on to pick Samuel Alito to fill that vacancy. So note, there is a sense that the Senate does want competent people. The Senate does want experienced people. They do not want just someone that was simply picked because of personal loyalty to the current president. Now, lack of Senate acceptability can be for various reasons. Enter in our other example, Merrick Garland. Now, you may know, actually you should know who he is, because he's the current Attorney General of the United States. And there's a reason why he's an Attorney General and not a member of the U.S. Supreme Court. And that dealt with lack of acceptability by the Senate, or at least the majority party of the Senate at the time. Back about 5 years ago, when Justice Scalia unexpectedly passed away, leaving a vacancy on the Supreme Court, President Obama appointed Mr. Garland here to fill that vacancy. Now, understand, Scalia was a very conservative member of the court. The court at that time held a 5-4 conservative majority. Obama picking Garland was going to add a kind of a moderate to liberal pick to the court, which would then give the liberals a little bit more of a majority on the court at that point. But note, this is kind of what happens. A vacancy pops up, the president has the right to pick who they choose, and then it goes to the Senate. So Obama made his pick, it goes to the Senate. And note, Garland was somebody that had judicial experience, he was very competent, good ABA scores, all that kind of stuff. But note, there was the political effects of this. Once again, I told you, having the Garland pick go to the court, that would then tilt the balance of power ideologically in the court from a 5-4 conservative majority to arguably a 5-4 liberal majority. Enter in Mitch McConnell and the Republicans that controlled the Senate in 2016 when this was going down. McConnell, realizing the politics of this, will say that this is so late in a president's term that we were now, at this point, about 8 months away from the next presidential election. McConnell says that he will not allow for hearings to take place for Mr. Garland, because really this pick should be reflective of the results of the 2016 presidential election. So in other words, McConnell basically says whoever wins the 2016 election is really going to get the pick, not the current president. Well, when that happens, there's no hearings, there's no discussion, there's nothing. Garland's picked, appointed by the president, but kind of left a twist in the wind by McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate, since they hold the majority. So remember, just because a president makes a pick does not necessarily compel the Senate to do anything about that pick, evidently. And McConnell politically kind of rolls the dice on the 2016 election, and he wins. We know Donald Trump wins that election. Hillary Clinton loses, and now with a Republican in the White House, we now see Trump pick a more conservative judge to fill that vacancy, and that's going to be Justice Gorsuch. Garland is then just cast aside. He was never confirmed, so he's just kind of cast aside. So, understand that can, happen. You don't have to have a quote-unquote good reason to not confirm somebody. You can do it for any reason you want, evidently. So notes, acceptability of the Senate is a pretty broad thing for sure. Anyhow, so we're going to leave it at that for now. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.